All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with the KTrain, where I chat with people who help me keep an eye on my vision. Don't really know how this guy wormed his way into me keeping an eye on my vision, but man, I'm actually really excited to have this conversation. I don't think I've seen this guy in person in shoot 10, 12, 13 years, something like that. It's been a while,
No, it
but
has not been that long.
it has been that long, my friend.
Boulder Triathlon, or no, Boulder Ironman.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
there you
Well, I
go.
mean, but you like that hardly counts though, because like you were just like standing on the sideline screaming at me, and like you
I
didn't wait
was,
around for
yeah,
me to finish. So,
yeah. Hung out with your
but
family more than I did you.
you did. But
Yeah.
anywho, if you guys have read if you guys have read my book, Discovering a Life Without Limits, you will know this guy's name right off the bat. It is my good buddy. I have traveled and climbed on 3 continents with. My good buddy Justin Tex Grant. Broski, how's it going, man?
Man, it's been a long time since anybody's called me Tex.
Well, you're still living in Texas, right?
Yeah, that's true. But man,
That name brings back some memories, I bet.
I don't even know how that got started, man. I mean, like I understand the reference, obviously, but
Yeah,
it's just happened one day, and I was like, okay, whatever.
yeah, yeah. But
Play
anyway,
into the
man,
stereotype.
I reckon so. I reckon so. So I like let's just go ahead and kind of tell like why don't you go ahead and tell people how the heck did we cross paths? How did we meet?
Oh man. Well, gather around, children, for a story around the campfire. Good grief. No, so you and I got hooked up through Global Explorers way back in the day. Man, I think when we first met, it wasn't 2005, it was 2006, I think it was.
It was 2005 because we went to Peru in '06, right?
Yeah, but I thought we met in that at
Yeah,
the
we met.
Estes Park get together that before we left for
Wait,
that.
was that in '06? Yeah, that
Was
must
that
have
no
been
five? I just remember it was
no,
winter,
that
it was
must yeah.
cold.
Yeah, no, I think it was in '06 because we went to Peru like 4 or 5 months later.
That summer.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because we both got accepted into the Global Explorers program in
Yeah.
2005. That's
So
right. That's
okay,
right. Okay.
so
So
the
sorry.
global
Go ahead. I interrupted you.
yeah, yeah, the Global Explorers program leading the way. It was the whole point behind it was to pair blind, visually impaired, and sighted students together to, man, how would you even describe that? To get us out into the outdoors, really experience the outdoors, following Eric Weimeier's lead, because this was at the time, this was only a few years after he had done his Everest expedition.
Yep.
Um, so you and I met through that. For my part of that process, I had to write essays and send them in. And man, I was 11th grade at the time. I don't think I was quite a senior yet. And you, man, you were a baby. You were the baby in the bunch. You were like 14.
I was when we met, I was in 8th grade. I was about to go into high school.
Yeah, man. To be honest, when we got hooked up with Global Explorers, it was one of those things where I saw the acceptance letter. I was like, yeah, man, I got in, but I didn't believe it was actually going to happen because nothing to me had ever happened that big before.
Mhm,
It was out of my league, I
mhm.
guess. And so when we all met together in Estes Park to get to know each other, get to know Eric, get to know his team, Eric Alexander, Jeff Evans, those guys.
Yep.
Uh, we met the rest of our team that was going on this trip to climb the Ancascocha Trail in Peru to end up in Machu Picchu. And so the whole point of us getting together in Estes Park was a training exercise and learning for kids our age who had never really spent a whole lot of time in the mountains. How do you guide a blind climber,
Yep.
through the mountains? And from my perspective, it was really odd. It was really different because I think Eric Weimeyer put it the best when he said you have the blind people and you have the sighted people, and they're in their own camps. Then you've got these weird visually impaired people that kind of they don't really fit into either one. They're somewhere in
Mhm.
between. I was like, oh, that's great. That's me. I don't fit in a cookie cutter. Fantastic. You know, and so Global Explorers, I don't know if it was just because I had a big mouth and did my own thing half the time. I mean, they let me guide, they let me be guided, you know. I
Yep.
mean, I spent a lot of time in Peru guiding some of the other guys that were with us,
Yep.
and vice versa. You know, it's not really a good analogy, but the blind leading the blind really applies. And at
It
least for
really
our part,
does.
it worked pretty well, you know,
I
at
would
least.
I would say so. I would say so. So like go ahead, tell people like what like kind of what's your what is your story like? So back before,
Oh,
Global Explorers, like, like you are visually impaired. So like what is
yeah.
your
So
like what's kind of your story?
my story is about fifth, sixth grade. My parents noticed that I was starting to have some possible eye issues, you know, and back in that time frame, the optometrist in the back of Sears was the big thing, right? It's the 90s,
Yep.
right? So we go there, and I did my best, as I always did, or tried to do
Yep.
at least. And the optometrist there kept looking at me, just asking, "Do you want glasses?" Well, no, not particularly. I'm trying to be truthful, and I guess I made an impact because she said, "Okay, there is something there, but I can't tell if he's faking it or not. You know, let's
Hmm.
bump him up to a higher level of care." And so from one specialist to the next, they finally nailed down, after about a year or two of digging, that I had a Stargardt's disease,
Okay.
which is, man, I haven't had to explain this story in a long time. It's
Well,
basically a form of macular degeneration in which
mhm.
the peripheral vision is real good and the central vision deteriorates, and it
Mhm.
deteriorates kind of unpredictably over time. Um, as far as genetic eye disorders go, it's not necessarily uncommon.
Mhm.
Uh, but as far as just, I don't know how many people have it, it's once in a blue moon kind of thing.
For
So
sure.
when I was going through all this, actually, and this kind of ties back into you, the Mr. Olympian that you are, back in, oh, I want to say it was the Sydney Olympics in 2000. There was
Mhm.
a lady running. I don't remember what she was running. Anyway, her name was Marla Runyon. Go figure.
Yep.
That's how I can remember it. And she
Yep.
had Stargardt's disease. And when I was
Yep.
going through all this process of being diagnosed and everything, our whole family watched her race on TV. My mom reached out over email, and it was just, at the time, to be honest, I just wanted to be a normal kid. I still had it
Yeah.
in my head that I was going to grow up and I was going to fly F-14s for the Navy or something, and go figure. Uncle Sam is not too fond of letting blind people fly his jets. That one didn't really work out.
No, no, I can't imagine it did.
No, yeah, I
Ah.
mean, I spent a lot of my childhood really trying to ignore the truth,
Mhm.
not necessarily deny it, because like I knew it was there, kind of in the back of my head. I knew that it was
Mhm.
unpredictable, so it was just like, you know what, I just want to be me. I'm going to ignore it. People say, oh man, you wouldn't know you were blind unless you told them. And I still get
Mhm.
told that now, and I'm like, okay, whatever, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
But it's weird, and there's times, where it really comes out, and it makes me real self-conscious, even still,
Sure.
reading menus,
Yeah.
when my wife and I go out to eat. It
Yep.
sucks, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, for sure, man. So like, so fast forwarding to Global Explorers, how did you
Yeah.
hear about Global Explorers? How and like what was like why did you decide I want to, throw my name in this
Yeah.
throw my name in the hat and, write these essays and, apply to go
Yeah.
be one of these
Okay.
kids, to adventure around the world.
Crazy blind kids that want to go
Yeah.
travel around the world.
Yeah. So how'd you
Yeah.
hear about
So
like tell us that story?
So after being diagnosed as legally blind with Stargardt's disease, the doctors put us in touch with, at the time, was Texas Division for the Blind Services, which has now
Mhm.
been, I guess, folded into some other government entity. I'm not really sure where they are now.
Yep.
Anyway, I had a caseworker there that that idea for the trip kind of came across his desk, and he passed it along to me because I hadn't really gotten involved with the blind community. I hadn't really done anything. Like I said, I was kind of ignoring the problem, more or less hoping it
Hmm.
would go away.
Right.
And he sent out this information packet to my parents. My parents looked over it and they said, well, he might actually be really interested in this. So they told me about it. And they said, okay, you got to write some of these essays. And I said, okay, crap, more homework. Gotcha. So to be honest, I wrote the essays that were required, and I don't remember a thing about what I wrote in it. I'm sure they were pretty bad, to be honest. And so I did what I was told. My parents were like, yeah, write these essays. Okay, fine, I'll write the essays, and I didn't think anything would ever come of it until I was getting ready for school one day, and I was checking my email, of all things, back in the old school dial-up days, check my email before I go to school, because what else am I going to do, right?
I think you had like Yahoo. I think you had a Yahoo account back then.
Man, I did. That was 05. Living the dream. Yeah, no. So I checked the email, and there it was, and I thought, what in the world? I started freaking out because it said I'd been accepted to go on this trip to Peru. I was like, no way, this can't be real. I told my parents, and that my mom came over and read it. They were thrilled. I mean, it was the biggest thing I'd ever done. And then it really hit me, like, I gotta get a passport. I gotta go to Peru. I gotta meet people. Really? What did I do?
How did I get this punishment?
Yeah, this was a really good idea. What am I signing up for? Supposed to lead blind kids through the mountains? Like, I can't even see. Man, so that's how it got started. And then from there, the next step was that trip that following March, I think it was, for all of us in the Leading the Way program to meet at Estes Park, meet with Eric Weimeyer and his guys, and get to know everybody. And I learned pretty quickly, probably 10 minutes into that van ride from Denver International out to Estes Park, that this is going to be fun.
So funnily enough, man, like I remember someone at because we're all, because I was technically traveling as a minor, someone had to scoop me up from my gate, and then we went over and met you at your gate, and you come like waltzing off the plane. I don't even know what you were probably wearing, a cowboy hat and flip-flops or some crazy stuff like that.
Well, I brought a guitar, so I did have a Kenny Chesney vibe going on.
Yes, you did. And that was the thing I was going to say. Like, you like, we go down to, like, you're like, I gotta go down to baggage claim and get my guitar. Its name is Trigger. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude's name,
Willie Nelson's guitar.
naming guitars. This guy's got some thick Texas drawl. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be fun. Like, I mean, because I didn't know what to expect either. Like, I mean, I knew a handful of blind kids, but I hadn't really done anything with anyone blind for a long time. So
you mentioned that, and to put this out there, this is something I don't think I've even ever told you. You guys, Terry, Paul, Andrew, those guys,
yep.
Guys were the first blind people that I ever met.
Wow. I did not know that, actually.
Yep.
I did not know that. Wow. Go figure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So you
ruined you. Ruined you for life.
Yeah. Tainted forever.
Painted forever.
Yeah.
But
now I know what y'all really like.
So, but man, like, I think I tell this story in the book, but like I don't know what it was, but like, I had this talking watch that I set an alarm on, because I was that crazy
stupid thing.
I was that crazy kid that was gonna get up and I wanted to go for like a run.
Yeah, 5 a.m. run, dude. Okay.
and somehow you got like the big old queen size bed in the middle of this bunk room that we're all in. I don't know how you scored that, but like, so my
I knew where to go.
My watch alarm goes off, and like all I hear is you like grumbling into the pillow. Man, I thought it was in Colorado, not back on the farm.
Oh yeah, it was like a crowing rooster or something, man.
Sure was. Thing was so annoying, dude. I haven't had one of those in 15 years. It's insane. But man, so like, so like, talk us through like, you know, that trip in Estes Park, and then going forward from between then and Peru. Like, talk us through like
Okay.
your experience of Estes Park, and like kind of what you learned, and
Yeah. So
all
so
that.
like I said earlier, the whole point of Estes Park was to get everybody together that was going on this trip, the blind students, the visually impaired students, and the students acting as sighted guides, and to pair us up to, for everybody to get to know everybody. Because the idea was that, we would rotate through guides, who's guiding who would change periodically, depending on who needs breaks and whatnot. And then
Mhm.
to really try out some of the tools and systems that Big E had devised, from his days doing it, with bells on the end of the trekking pole so that we could follow the sound, as best
Yep.
we could. And then learning how to accurately describe obstacles that are coming up on our paths, so that we don't, as Brad named them, like shin busters and all that,
Yep.
so we don't whack ourselves on rocks, and when to step up, when to step down, that kind of thing. It was really our first attempt to make sure we could make it through some relatively mild terrain without killing each other.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to put that. And to their, I don't know, they did good. Nobody died.
No, nobody died. Nobody died
Nobody
in
died.
Estes Park.
Well, except for that one kid that we left behind. But
well, we don't talk about him. Oops, we
I don't
talked
even
about
remember
him.
his name.
The no name.
Yeah. So that was the whole point behind Estes Park. And then we focused a lot on team building, because obviously we were going to go through some pretty major stuff in the coming months. You wanted to be able to know that we could trust the people that were guiding us. We wanted to know that we could trust the people that were following behind us. If we were to slip and fall, somebody would catch us, and it worked really well, I think.
Yeah.
We got to hear Eric Weimeier's story. Eric Alexander, I believe, was there. I'm not sure if Jeff was there or not. It was really inspiring to hear their stories, and to know that we were the kind of the next generation behind him to follow in his footsteps and really take it further. Well, I don't want to say take it further, but follow his lead. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Leading the way is the name of the trip, right?
Exactly. So, like, let's fast forward to Peru. What do you like?
Okay.
What do you remember? What are some of your favorite memories and experiences that we went through together in Peru?
I remember a lot, and all of it's incriminating.
Lay it out there, bro. Lay it out there.
From my perspective, Peru was really a trip that opened my eyes, for lack of a better pun, to really show me that that even though I had been trying to ignore what I was dealing with my visual impairment, it wasn't necessarily the bad thing that I had made it out to be. Mm-hmm. I was able to learn that I could turn this around and make it an asset, and make it something worthwhile, make good come of it. Honestly, the biggest thing that stuck out to me the most in Peru, and you were there, obviously, you'll remember this. After all was done, the trail was over with, and we rode back up to Machu Picchu after we had finished all of it, right? We had our tour day, where we were actually going to be tourists for a change, instead of just hiking sweaty through the hills. We had barely made it past the front gate, and this mom and her son came running up to us, and she was overjoyed to see us, and obviously speaking English from America. And she had found out about our trip. I'm not even sure how, but her son was in the same predicament. He was losing his vision, or he might have been all the way blind by that point. And she and her family followed us down to Peru. She wanted to meet Eric Weimer. She wanted her son to meet us. And what I remember the most about that is all of us just kind of circling up around this kid on this really steep ledge that could have been very bad for all of us. And
it was kind of sketchy.
I know. And then we were just, we circled up around this kid, and we're like, hey man, what's up? We're so glad you're here. Let me show you some tricks while you're out here, and we showed them the trek and pole trick and the bells for guiding. And
Yep.
it was the coolest thing. We weren't even back home yet from that trip, and we were already making a difference in people's lives, you
Yep.
know? And then 5 seconds later, like 3 llamas just barreled right through us, and that kind of killed the mood. But
That sounds about right.
it is what it is.
Yep.
Giant furry cows.
I think I remember one of them, like, taking a whiz, like, as I think it was Brad that was, leading me down those like floating steps or whatever between the terraces, and one of them, like, we're walking like right by the llama, and it's just whizzing right there by us. I mean, it's a freaking furry cattle.
I bet Brad had some choice words for that.
One or two.
One or two.
Yeah. So, like, oh man, golly, so many memories from that trip. Yeah. But
I mean, obviously there's obviously the really good parts, us as a team and bonding together and learning how to work together and guide together. But for me, the point from Peru that really stuck out the most was being able to inspire others around us before we'd even come back from the trip.
Yep.
It was cool to make a difference in that kid's life.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name.
Oh shoot, I can't even remember his name, but he was, I just remember him being like a smart kid, because I think it was I think it was Andrew that was talking to him, and he's like, and he was like, yeah, man, my name's Andrew Johnson, and the kid's like, oh, like the president. We're like, half of us didn't even know who the 17th president of the United States was. This kid's like 9 years old, like ripping it off, like just that was smart as a whip. That was a fun
thing. The back and forth between me and Andrew, that was good.
Oh man,
the dude was from Connecticut, and so you got the Yankee from Connecticut and the Texas boy.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, we were good friends. He's a great guy. I love him to death. We definitely played into the stereotype just for fun.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could reminisce and talk about Peru all day, all night. We have before. I mean, we could talk about how, like, you nearly murdered some cattle. I
was hungry, man. Let it go.
Yeah. And like, we could talk about how you were going stir crazy and you were mooing at them, and all that. But we'll go ahead and
move.
You got to make a move.
You want to do there?
Yeah, I see it, man. I smell what you're stepping in. But Peru was not the only cool adventure that we had. So why don't you walk the good old KTrain fans through kind of the next couple of phases of what we did together.
So I assume you're talking about Kilimanjaro right after Peru.
Maybe
the next chapter in the book, right?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of the book, shameless plug right here, guys. If you haven't checked it out yet, Discovering a Life Without Limits by Kyle Kuhn. Pick it up. It's a good read. Yes, I am the comic relief in that book.
There's a bit of comic relief in that book.
I know, right? So going from Peru to Kilimanjaro, that was a funny story in and of itself. We were coming down from the end of the trail, from the Ancacocha Trail in Peru, and we boarded this train in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's railroad tracks out here in the middle of the mountains. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna get on the train that comes by.
Yep.
This is typically how horror movies start, but whatever.
Yeah.
So we get on the train, and we kind of have that realization that the trip is coming to a close, and in a few days we'll all be back home, and that'll be that. And quite a few of us were very unsatisfied with that thought. We wanted this to continue on. We had such a great team, and we weren't about to let it end here,
Yep.
And so we started talking about, well, if we were going to do something beyond this, what would it be? And I've always been kind of a nut for Alaska. My dad grew up in Alaska. My parents lived there for a while. And so I was always, let's go do Denali, man, Mount McKinley. these dumb kids thinking that they can do cool stuff like that at the time, you know.
Yeah.
And
We
so
had
we
such
were
high
passing
hopes.
it around, and we were like, Eric did all these 7 summits. Like, it'd be so cool to do something like that. And I don't even remember who floated the idea. I think it might have been you. And you just suggested, what if we did Kilimanjaro? You know, and I was like, that sounds cool. I think it's in Africa, you know?
You think, huh?
I think, and I'm not sure how to get to Africa, you know, but
We might have to take a boat. I don't know.
there might be a boat involved in that. And maybe, you know, we might have to walk the rest of the way or something, you know. And we just kept going back and forth until finally somebody suckered Eric Alexander into this conversation, this poor guy. And so we kept begging him, saying, hey, can we go to Kilimanjaro after this? Would you be our guide? And he reluctantly said yes, because I mean, we're the cute kids that we are, those unruly
Yeah.
teenagers coming out of the
Yep.
mountains. None of us had showered in a week. Of course, you're going to say what you're going to tell us what we want to hear, so we'll shut up. You know,
Exactly.
little did he know that we were going to hold his feet to the fire on that one.
We did indeed.
So
We did indeed.
somehow, after all that, we were able to keep the team, the group together, the leading the way. And the following year, 2007, Global Explorers put together another leading the way expedition, and we all went to Kilimanjaro. Well, not all of us. Most of us did. Some of us couldn't make it because of scheduling conflicts, but we did. And I think there was isn't this where Global Explorers really kind of kept the leading the way group going, like not just our group, but expanding the program itself? I thought they had done several other leading the way expeditions since. We were just the first. We were the guinea pig.
Yeah. We were kind of the test piece, and
the test case.
And so they decided to go back. So they decided to go back to Peru.
I think they did one in
2007.
Mexico, and I thought they did one in the Grand Canyon doing the whitewater rafting.
Yep. So they went on to do all these cool things. So they've been back to Peru. They've been to Mexico. They've done the Grand Canyon, and then eventually what happened was they merged with No Barriers, and now they're running all these programs just all over the US and all over the world.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's pretty cool, seeing what we kind of started.
What's grown from that.
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool. But yeah, tell us, like, from your perspective, like, talk us through Kilimanjaro, man, like, because that was a pretty cool experience.
Man, there's so many highlights from that trip. That trip was amazing. Life changing. Not to suggest that Peru wasn't, but we really did hold true to that idea of we wanted to take our group and go even further and grow more from that experience. And we definitely accomplished that with the Kilimanjaro experience. Before we went, so we flew into Arusha, right? And then we had to bus over to
Moshi.
Moshi, that was the name of the town. I couldn't remember.
Yep.
And we did some local stuff there where we were, getting out into the town and meeting people and hooking up with one of the local schools and learning about, the Tanzanian culture and everything. And that was really cool, getting to meet the people there and interact with them. And they were some of the most amazing people I've ever met.
They were pretty cool.
They were.
They had quite the sense of humor too.
They did.
So like, dude, like, well, like the first day we met up with this school, and they like bring us into this. I mean, you tell the story pretty well, but like they bring us into this classroom, and they are hell bent on teaching us Swahili.
Oh my gosh!
I'll let you pick it up from there.
Well, I'm not quite sure where you're going with this, but yeah, it was an interesting experience. Let me just put it to you this way. This is probably the best way to explain it. Being immersed in their culture and learning what different words were for things in Swahili, I was amazed at how much Swahili I actually knew thanks to the movie The Lion King.
It was pretty amazing.
I was practically fluent. And wouldn't you know it, Hakuna Matata is a legit thing over there. Blew
Hakuna
me away.
Matata. Yep.
Blew me away.
We used that a whole heck of a lot, man.
We did.
We used that a whole heck of a
We
lot.
did.
Hakuna
And
Matata. Hakuna Matata,
confessions of a
Rafiki.
blind man over here. When we came back from Kilimanjaro, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I laid down in my bed for like 3 days straight because I was exhausted, and I just put The Lion King on repeat. I was like, man, it's so much better watching this as like a 19-year-old kid. Like, I
Oh, that's
understand it.
awesome.
It's
Yep.
great.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. But yeah, man, like, oh, dude, we just like, but like, even though we all knew like these random Swahili words and phrases, like, man, they were merciless on us if we messed something up, like, um, oh man, like, I think it was you that would, you're trying, like,
Oh yeah.
the head teacher is like,
Yep.
forces you to like stand up and talk in front of the
I don't even know what I
class.
did wrong, man. I'm sitting there I'm doing what you tell me to do. I can't understand what I'm doing wrong. Until Brad had to pipe up and say, Tex don't know much. And they pointed me out as the village idiot, and I had to sit back down. Go figure.
Oh my gosh. But man, we spent a few days with them, and then
Man, I tell you what,
remember,
if you want to continue the confessions of the blind man here, we were riding in the bus with the school kids one day, and
yep.
I snuck in an iPod, right, to that
Oh
trip.
yeah. Of course you
And
did.
the guy that I was paired with, the kid, he looks at me and he saw that I had it. He's like, "Hey, can you show me music from Texas?" I was like, "You sure?" And yeah, you show me Texas music. All right, buddy, you bet. So I whipped out my iPod, gave him the earbuds. I turned on some George Strait for him in the middle of Tanzania, and that boy was rocking.
Heck yeah, man.
He was living it
Heck
up.
yeah. Loving that. Loving
Yeah,
that. Oh
good stuff.
man, oh man, oh man. Oh, that's good stuff. But dude, like, I mean, dude, I mean, so many memories from that trip really stick out to me. Like, you remember that the other village that we went to before we actually, started climbing and all that, like, those kids putting on like the traditional like Maasai,
Yes. Oh,
warrior
that was
dances, like,
amazing.
tell people what that experience was like, and watching those watching those kids do what they're doing.
So,
like,
the way you put that question, let me just preface that I'm still visually impaired, so I could only see so much, and
sure.
I was really listening to that more than anything.
Yep.
The songs that they would sing and just the vocal range that they had was amazing. It was utterly amazing. And they were kids. They were all our age and younger, and they told us that well, the kid that I was paired with, he would tell me that, oh, that's so and so, and she's from a Maasai tribe out here, and she has to live here year round because her family is out in the African wilderness, on the savannah or wherever. And
Yep.
I was like, that blow my mind back then to
Yep.
know that these kids would come here and they live on their own, and it it was culture shock, to say the least. I mean, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. I mean, even after going through Peru, it was so different, but it was so cool to be immersed in how they live life.
Yep.
And they welcomed us with open arms. They were fantastic people.
And man, they cooked us up some wicked feast that, oh my gosh, that was some amazing food.
That was.
Oh man. But then we finally get to the climb, and like, I think we are all, like, Kilimanjaro. I mean, I would say the hiking itself was until day, what, like 5 or 6, 4, 5 or 6, like it was pretty tame, at least compared to what we were doing in Peru.
Yeah.
But like, despite that, I mean, we're still cutting up, laughing, having a good time, and like we're just climbing higher and higher and higher.
We were a group of kids that couldn't take anything seriously.
We really were, come to think of it. But like, so to me, like, it's like you and I were kind of the, like, for lack of a better better term. It was like you, me. I think it was you, me, and Terry that really kind of spearheaded this trip to Africa, and we were the ones that begged and pleaded with Eric Alexander to
We finally broke
take
him.
us, and we broke him, and then Dave Sherna signed on to co-sponsor this trip with through Global Explorers, and they did all the logistics and stuff. But like it had always kind of been our plan to like we were like, man, we gotta we're gonna summit this mountain together. And it really like talk us through summit night, like what you remember of summit night, like starting at Kibo Hut and going up to Gilman's and all that. So talk us through your memories of that.
Summit night on Kilimanjaro. We woke up at 11 o'clock midnight. I can't remember what exactly. Had a quick breakfast, got all bundled up, and then met outside of the little camp area that we were staying in, kind of going through a rundown of, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be walking up. We're all going to be on a relatively equal footing because it's pitch black outside.
Yep.
Go figure. And for me, my feeling was more a feeling of, man, this is going to sound so dumb. You remember the movie Armageddon with Owen Wilson in it? They're about to blast off. You feel like you're 98% excited, 2% scared, or maybe it's the other way around, and 2% excited and 98% scared. But that's what makes it so intense,
Yep.
And I hate to quote a movie to explain a feeling, but that's really what it felt like. I mean, I could feel a sense of panic in my gut, but also like, oh man, we're gonna do it,
Yep.
And I can remember looking up, and this is some of my kind of my special moments of being in that in between of visually impaired, not fully sighted, not fully blind, and being able to just see some of the more grandeur and beauty that is nature, and being able to stand outside of camp and looking up and just seeing the expanse of stars above me. It's one of those things that it's an image that's been burned into my head. And then to know that right after I look at that, we're going to start making our way up to the summit of Kilimanjaro, the highest point in Africa. It's one of those feelings of kind of euphoria of, are we really doing that? Is this for real? Somebody pinch me, maybe pull the cord out and wake me up from the Matrix or something. This can't be real.
Yep.
And so we start making our way up, and summit night was by far the hardest night of hiking. It was the hardest that I think any of us had ever experienced up until that point. Just how steep it was, how loose it was. It was volcanic up there, and so every step you take, you'd sink in a little bit, and it would knock loose gravel down the mountainside, and it was on and on and on. And then I remember we weren't even talking that much because it was late. We were all tired. We were all getting worn out quickly. And we were really running off of adrenaline more than anything. And then I remember vividly hearing, it was Brad, and I think he was guiding you, and he was ahead of me. And he just shouted and broke the silence. I see snow. Finally, here we are on the snows of Kilimanjaro.
Yep.
Making our way up. And sure enough, a few minutes later, I get there, and would you look at that snow? And for a kid from Texas, that's a rare oddity,
Yep. Here you are in the middle of Africa, and there's snow.
Is it real? I'm gonna touch it, And so we kept on going, and finally we got up to a place called Gilman's Point, which it's right there on the edge of the crater, if I remember correctly. It's not the summit, but it is close.
Yep.
It was a good rest spot. And by this time, it's still pitch black outside. And we had been climbing for 6 hours at the time?
Something like that.
Just working our way up to the summit in pitch black. So we started from Gilman's Point. You work your way around up to the summit, and you kind of follow the edge of the crater. And that is an interesting feeling to know. I mean, even for me, you look down on one side, and there's the rest of the mountain the whole way down. You look on the other side, and you think, what? There's the rest of the mountain over there, but it's really the crater of the volcano. And now we had a special way of describing that. It was really kind of morbid, if I remember correctly, where we would rate how much it would hurt if we were to fall off the edge one way or the other. Whenever you're guiding a blind guy, okay, Kyle, we're coming this way, and feel the edge with your right, and if you go over that edge, you will be, I don't remember what we even called it. What did we call it?
I think it was I think it was like there was like if you there was like mildly annoyed was kind of like
Mild,
the
yeah.
yeah, it was like the least severe. And then like the next step up was you would be
It was like
it
severely ticked off.
yeah, it was like severely ticked off or severely pissed off. And then
Yeah.
and then the final stage was if you fall, you die. So
Yeah. So it was definitely like that for a while, and
yep.
we made it up to the summit. And that was definitely a special feeling. I was guiding Terry Garrett at the time, and he was worn out. I was worn out. We were both dragging, and I kept saying, come on, man, follow me. You're gonna put your hand on the sign as a sign of accomplishment. It's
Yep.
gonna be great, and you're gonna feel it. He's like, all right, man, I trust you. I'm right behind you. He's like, come on, we're almost there. A few more steps. And I put my hand on the sign, and I forgot to tell him to stop. And he makes contact with the sign, the summit sign up there at the top, Uruhu Peak, which means freedom in Swahili, by the way.
Yep.
And he met the sign quite intimately with his face on the wood. So all I hear is I'm in the middle of this special moment of touching it, and like, oh, I made it, and then whack, and you hear Terry, oh, hey, I forgot you back there. Sorry, man.
Found the sign.
Here it is.
Here's your sign.
Yeah. You're done. Yeah.
Oh man.
Special moment for sure.
Very special.
And of course,
moment.
ruined by the events right after, but still great nonetheless.
Well,
The best bathroom joke of all time. Do you want me to tell that one, or should you?
Nah, man, all you, bro, all you, go.
So we get everybody up to the summit. We take our pictures, and everybody's happy. And then, well, a bunch of us had to pee, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So, well, half the group is blind, half the group isn't. So the people that aren't blind go over here, and the people that are blind, well, Justin's going to lead them over here, take them to the edge of the crater, where we all just peed into the volcano.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we conquered.
Good thing it's a dormant volcano, or extinct. Is it extinct? I don't know.
It's extinct. Yeah, I think it's.
With an act like that, we probably could have woken it up and tempted fate. But
yeah, we definitely could have. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But man, oh man, like the adventures don't stop there though. So
they really don't.
We get home from Africa, and we decide to do some more dumb stuff.
Well, we pulled the same crap, that we did in Peru. We're like, let's do something else. Let's do some more. And of course, we tried to sucker Eric Alexander in, but he learned from this experience. Okay, yep. If I tell him yes, they're going to string me along forever. So he finally told us no, and good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
But we knew we weren't done, and it still pains me to this day to say that we did not have a trip in 2008. At least I don't think we did. If we did, I wasn't there.
Brad and I did a small trip, but yeah,
that's right.
Yep. And then you guys took a trip in 2009, but
we did.
Go ahead. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. So we spent that year putting together and forming Team Sight Unseen.
Yep.
That was our attempt at taking the reins of leading the way, everything that they had taught us, and then forming our own group together and going on to continue the dream, more or less. Our whole goal, our vision was to really show that when Eric Weimeyer climbed Mount Everest as a blind man and went on to summit the 7 summits, it wasn't just a random act. This was for real, that blind people are just as capable of accomplishing some of the most difficult tasks on earth, and that blindness isn't necessarily a factor. And it is something that can be overcome when you put your mind to it.
Yep.
And so we went on from there. Well, we took a few, like you said earlier, you and Brad did your own trip, and then we got together, me and a guy from school, and Peter Green and Ben. Oh crap, it's been so long since I talked to him. What was his last name?
Meyer.
Ben Meyer. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
We got together and we did Mount Adams and we did Mount Rainier. And, though Mount Rainier was a special one to me just because
For sure.
I said earlier, my family is from the whole Pacific Northwest area. I had been on Mount Rainier when I was 2. Obviously, I don't have any memory of that, but there were pictures of it floating around in our house. And I thought, okay, that's cool. I should probably go back and finish that mountain at some point. And so
Yeah.
I got that opportunity to do it. I was the token blind kid for that trip, and it was good. It was real good. It was a shame that you weren't able to make it. We definitely missed you, but you caught the next one.
I did catch the next one. And that was a doozy of a trip.
It was. I still, I don't have mixed feelings about it, but it's definitely a sense of it's still not done, even to this day. And
nope,
there's more to that story too. So our next trip was Gannett Peak, the highest mountain in Wyoming. And go figure, man, this is just a running theme. So we did Rainier. My dad was born in Aberdeen, Washington, Rainier, Washington, whatever. Well, we go on to Gannett Peak, highest mountain in Wyoming. We'll go figure. My mom's from Casper, Wyoming.
Yep.
And then later on, I ended up living there for 4 years when my wife was in the Air Force. We were stationed in Cheyenne. So I've spent a lot of time in Wyoming. Still haven't gone back to finish this mountain yet.
Yep.
So Gannett Peak, that was a special one. It was a long and grueling hike, very, very long, even just to get to the approach for the summit.
Yep.
And it was a vicious trail. And I think the biggest takeaway from Gannett Peak, at least for me, was that was the first time that, from a climbing standpoint, you would say that we failed. We fell short. At least for me and you, we did not summit. There were other people in the team that did, which was fantastic. But for me and you, we weren't able to summit,
right,
for reasons. But it was so. I think the teaching moment is that.
I actually kind of want to let's circle back to that though. I tell the story and I tell the story in the book. So if you've read the book, you know the story. But for those people that haven't read the book, tell us the story from your perspective. Look, you and I did not summit.
We didn't,
and that was really hard on both of us. But kind of walk us through why you and I didn't, why you and I decided not to go onto the summit. What kind of the circumstances that kind of led into that.
The simple part of the story, I guess you could say, and this is the way that I remember it. So if you remember it differently, please chime in. We had gotten a sponsorship earlier in that year. And we used some of that money to get you some new mountaineering boots, actually, if I remember right.
Yep.
And your mountaineering boots had not been broken in all the way, whatever. No. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but
definitely not as well as they could have been.
Yeah. The point of the matter was that you had gotten some nasty blisters on the heels. You were definitely in pain, and it was not good. So you had them from the previous day before. We were trying to take care of them, trying to, triage them as best we could. And then we set out that following day to kind of make our summit attempt. And it was ripping you to shreds. And I could tell, even the half blind guy that I am, man, you were fighting hard to keep going. It was painful. Yep. And then I think it got to the point where Peter, he saw it for what it was. And he's like, dude, this isn't good. Because you got to stop, man. Because your personality is very much, you're going to run yourself into the ground before you call it for yourself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, at least at the time. I mean, that was 10 years ago, and so
things haven't changed.
Yeah, go figure. Man. And so we had a little team meeting right there, and this is going to sound bad, but I think there was a little bit of animosity about the decision. But from my perspective, me and you had been doing this since 2006. Everything that we had gone together, we had finished together. And
Yep.
I was very much of the opinion that, nobody gets left behind kind of thing. We were talking about, okay, if Kyle's got to go back to camp, who's going to go back with him? And I thought, well, if all for one for all,
Yeah.
that was my perspective. And I know some of our other teammates thought differently, and it is what it is.
Yep.
I could not bring myself to really say, okay, I'm going to leave you here, regardless of with who, because I trusted every single one of our teammates. It's just,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a complete, it would be a half accomplishment, I guess you could say, is the way that I looked at it. If I were to
Yeah.
go on to continue to summit Gannett and you weren't there, okay, yeah, we still got one blind guy out of two in the team up to the top. But from my perspective, it would have been Kyle wasn't there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes, I mean, it makes a ton of sense,
Yeah.
to me.
And it would not have been good. And this, we all know this, it would not have been good for you to continue pushing on.
No,
And
it
we
would
were
have,
at the
it would have
point where
ended bad.
we had to cross a nasty, horrific boulder field to get to where we were before we even got to the downhill section of the trail to head back down to the car to, at a minimum, take some amount of that rubbing off of your shoes.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah.
Yeah. No. So
all in all, I think hindsight's 2020. I think the right calls were made even to this day. So
I agree. I mean, so you and I, we basically, you piped up and you said, guys, look, I'm like, if Kyle's not going to be there with me, I don't want to summit. And like, and dude, that hit me hard because in a good way. Cause like, I wanted you to
save
go
your
on
tears.
because like I wanted you to go on to summit, like, but at the same time, it showed that I mean, dude, like you're like we were brothers in this, and
So we had a running motto through all of these trips through Peru and Kilimanjaro and Rainier. And at this point now it's pretty cliche, but remember back in 05, 06, 07, like, oh man, our motto was, it's about the journey. It's the journey that matters, and
yep,
it's the people
yep,
that you're with and where you're going with them, and
yep,
it's not the destination, and all that.
yep,
And, it's cheesy and cliched now, but at the
for
time,
sure.
it really held true. Like, we started this together, we're going to finish it together. And I don't care where we are. If we're not going to finish it
Yep.
together, there's no point.
Yeah. No. And like, and we all kind of, we made this decision, and you and I were like, you know what? Like, we can tell all y'all want to go on to the summit. Y'all are all still super strong. Like, go ahead, like make a dash for the summit. And you and I just kind of, we had a couple of foam ridge rests in our backpacks.
Yeah, snuggled in between some boulders and
snuggled in between some boulders, to shade us from the sun. And we just kind of, put our feet up, and we just kind of chilled out there on, like 12,000 feet on this, godforsaken mountain.
Made the best of a hard situation.
Yeah. And so our teammates, make a quick dash, tag and bag the summit, come down after a few hours, and
which they did, by the way.
Yeah, no, they did. They crushed it. They came down, scooped us up, and then we made our way down.
Yep.
And
slowly made our way back. That was a hard descent.
That was a really hard descent. But yeah, man, I
was fried at the end of that day. That was rough.
That was a long day. And the thing was, like, we still, like, we got down to camp, and I think, didn't we pack up camp like right then, and we kept climbing down, and then we still had, and then the very next day we still had a 12+ hour day to hike out to get to the cars, because like we needed to catch our flights, because we were running out of time.
It was bad. It was rough.
I
don't want to say it was bad. It was difficult. It was hard, and there was a lot of good learning experiences from it. And I think there are several, I guess, characteristics about myself now that I found while we were on Gannett Peak. I know what my limits are. I know kind of. It was definitely a good self-teacher, I guess you could say. It taught me more about myself than some of the other trips that we had been on.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the really big takeaways from, I mean, one of the reasons I called the one of the reasons I named the chapter in the book Success Without a Summit, was because
Yeah.
I think we all learned a lot on that trip. It definitely, it toughened me up. I mean, like, you you saw me, death marching my way through my first Ironman and Ironman Boulder. And I was thinking back to Gannett Peak. When death marching through those boulder fields, and I was like, man, this Ironman is not as hard as Gannett Peak was for me. And like,
Really?
and like Gannett Peak was, like for me, that was a tough mountain. Like and it was one of those things. I felt that I had let you guys down, and but at the same time, like you guys rallied around me and made it like, especially you, bro. Like you were like, we're in this together, and it really goes to show that it's the people that we surround ourselves with, and the people that we choose to become brothers and sisters with. Those are the people that really impact our lives. And
Yeah.
shoot man, like I said, like we've seen each other like once in the last 10 plus years. We've actually probably only
In
spent,
person. Yeah.
in person, like we've probably only actually spent maybe a month total together in person over the last 17-18 years. And
Really been that long?
it's crazy, man. Like, but like we have shared some amazing experiences, and we've gone on to learn a ton about ourselves. I mean, you went on to marry a great woman, who is a zillion times better than you. I don't know what voodoo you did to land her,
It's the
but
blind man magic.
yeah, something like that. I remember when you were talking about proposing to her, back in like 2011, 2012, what sometime around,
Yeah.
and you guys were both into rock climbing at the time, and
I
you were
had gotten her. I had gotten her into that. Yeah, that was fun. So I proposed to her back in November of 2011, and we had both been going to UNT at the time,
Yep.
in the same major. But UNT is where I really got into climbing. It wasn't. I mean, the Peru trip and the Kilimanjaro trip definitely springboarded it, but we had a gym at our rec center, right? A climbing gym, right?
Yep.
A really good one at that matter.
Yeah.
And I would go there every day. I was known to skip classes every now and then to go to the climbing gym instead. And priorities, right?
Priorities, man.
And so
Priorities.
I had competed in a couple of our Red Point Riots, is a competition that we had there. And so when Caitlin and I started dating, I introduced her to the rock climbing wall there, and taught her what I could about it, and got her to compete that following year. And I gave her the itch. Yeah, and to this day she's quite adamant about every chance she gets. Even we have a local gym here. We go climb whenever we can, and
That's awesome.
yeah, I got her into it.
That's
sure.
awesome. But yeah, man. I mean, dude, you were throwing out all these crazy, wild proposal ideas. You were like, I'm gonna belay her, and I'm not gonna let her rappel down until she says
Until she
yes.
says yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
The one
dude,
I ended up with, I'm pretty happy with.
Yep. I mean, dude, like, we had some long conversations on the phone about all that craziness. But
so we ended up a proposal by the lake here in town, and
nice.
my brother on the other side of the lake with a big telephoto camera while he was wearing a woodland ghillie suit. in a public park might not have been the best thing in the world, but we had to do what we had to do to get the awesome pictures for him, And,
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
in case anybody's wondering, she said yes.
3 kids later.
3 kids later, she still said yes. Yeah.
Yep. But man, like, oh man, like I feel like we're just a couple of old, like, washed up dirtbags now. Like, we're talking about our glory days, our glory days and all that. But like,
yeah, I've had that idea come across before. Man, were those the glory days? Were those the good old days? And the reality is, the way I tell myself is, the answer is no. It's
No.
not over yet. Obviously, I definitely had to take a back seat to it. I mentioned it earlier. Caitlin was in the Air Force for a while, so we tied to the military for a little bit.
Yep.
And then 3 kids, and we had to wait until they're out of diapers, obviously, before we can go climb and stuff like that. And lately, it's actually been this past year, we've been taking them with us to the climbing gym. And to be honest, that's something that I think you really inspired, because at first, me and her climbing, it was all just about it's us having fun. It's almost like a date night, go to the climbing gym,
Yeah.
But and you mentioned in your book where that's something that you guys did as a family, where everybody went to the climbing gym, to the climbing spots. And I'm trying to get my kids into it, trying to teach them. My oldest, she'll go at it for a little bit. She'll go up 5 or 6 feet, and she starts getting a little timid, and then she'll just like let go and throw herself off. And she'd rather just swing on a top rope than climb the thing. But my son, on the other hand, he'll beeline for the top. He's too short to follow any routes or anything, but
he'll get there,
make it to the top like nothing, no fear. So we made him a deal. If you climb all the way to the top of the gym, it's 25, 30-foot wall. It's not super huge, but when you're 6, 7, 8, it's scary.
Big deal. Yeah.
So we told him, because we go to REI a lot. We said, okay, if you guys make it to the top of the wall here at the gym at Dino Rock, you'll get your very own special chalk bag. So that was their incentive. And of course, my oldest, she's pretty artsy, right? So she wanted the fluffy, Cousin It looking chalk bags, and I'm
totally
like, oh my gosh. Whatever.
Oh man, I love that, man. I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
It really is, man. It's a lifestyle. I love it. And I think you're right, man. Like, yeah, we joke about our glory days and all that, but I think I think our biggest adventures are still yet to come. We're a little older, maybe supposedly a little wiser. Don't know about that. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know, man. Like I think I mean, honestly, doing this doing this podcast and stuff. It's it really has been great for me, to reconnect with people that have like you. You helped, you really helped me keep an eye on my vision and, driving toward, what I want to accomplish in life. And, I never expected that I would be pursuing triathlon, as passionately as I had once pursued, rock climbing and mountaineering. But my heart is still in the mountains. I've been based in Colorado for a while now, and it's I've been getting the itch. We got to get the gang back together. We got to do us a little trip, bro.
Saying that for years, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it, broski. But anyhow, Justin, man, it has. Oh man, I know you got like husband and husband duties and gotta take care of the kids and all that. So I could keep you here all night, bro. But we'll definitely have to do this.
Dude, they went to Chick-fil-A, man. I skipped Chick-fil-A for you.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I would have skipped Chick-fil-A for you, man. Come on.
Yeah, it shows you where you rank, man.
I'm just kidding, bro. Oh man, this conversation and reminiscing with you is always way better than a Chick-fil-A sandwich, man. Way better. Anyway, man, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And you know, you're not like super active on, social media or anything like that, are you? I mean, can people
Social
follow you
media,
on?
what's that?
There you go.
What is
There's your
that?
answer. There's your answer, folks. He don't really post anything on the
Text don't
gram
know
or
much.
yeah, text don't know much.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, we got to whip your book out at some point, man. We got to whip your book out. So
We have a yearbook?
no, man, no, we got
serious? What?
No, man, we gotta put together. You gotta write a book. You gotta write your book. We gotta instead of
okay.
instead
I misheard you.
Yeah, you must have. Instead of you being the comic relief in my books,
That's what I'm good at. I'll stick to what I'm good at.
Well, I think everyone is gonna really enjoy this conversation and
Tell you what, man,
and
what
all
we
that.
need to do is we need to have Brad on here next time and have the three of us just go at it. It'll be never ending.
Oh man, that might be like a 5-hour episode.
Yeah. Kicking it with the KTrain special.
Something like that. Bonus episode.
Bonus. There you go. There you go.
Anywho. All right, you guys. You know him, you love him, you've read about him if you've read the book. And
I'm sorry.
You finally got to meet him in person, or at least over the airwaves. My good buddy, my brother, Justin Grant. Thanks so much, man. Really, really appreciate it. And
yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Anytime, man. We'll catch up soon. All right.
All right.
All right. And that brings us to another end of Kicking It with the K Train.